So, here's a question for you. Why do 70% of big, ambitious projects just fail, even when you've got the smartest people in the room? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into the work of management guru John Kotter to uncover the really surprising answer. All right, let's just jump right in with a number that, well, it might feel a little too familiar if you've ever been part of a big project.
Yup, 70%. And this isn't just a guess. This is based on some serious research looking at over 100 companies. More than 70% of all their big change initiatives just don't make it. I mean, they don't get fully implemented, they blow the budget, they miss their deadlines, or they just completely crash and burn, And all that's left is a ton of frustration.
So that really is the puzzle, isn't it? If your strategy is solid and your team is sharp, what is this invisible thing that's knocking everything off the rails? Well, what Kotter discovered is that the answer isn't in the plan at all. It's in the mindset.
It turns out progress gets sabotaged by these two hidden killers. The first one is complacency, and the second is its kind of chaotic cousin, something called false urgency.
Okay, so let's break these two down. Complacency. That's like a quiet poison. It's this dangerous feeling that everything's fine, being satisfied with how things are. But false urgency, now that's a different beast. It actually looks productive. It's this whirlwind of activity, but it's all just motion with no real direction. It's the fast track to burnout. And that is exactly the trap, you see. Complacency is what's left over from old wins. It makes people hold on tight to old habits, not because they still work, but just because they feel safe and familiar, even when the world outside has totally moved on. But here's the really crucial insight. You can't just fight that feeling of everything's fine by creating a panic. That's just trading one problem for another. False urgency is so dangerous because it feels like you're getting stuff done. Everyone's running around, they're busy, they're stressed, so things must be happening, right? Nope, wrong. And this right here, this shows you exactly how these killers work in the real world. This is a classic case study from a tech company. They knew they had a problem, but instead of actually acting, they got completely stuck in this loop. It's this storm of complacency, but it's all hidden behind the false urgency of just endless, pointless meetings. Okay, so if complacency is like being stuck in a swamp and false urgency is like running on a hamster wheel, what's the antidote? Well, Kotter has a name for it. True urgency. Now, true urgency isn't about panicking. It's not about anxiety. It's this deep, gut-level determination to win, and to win now. It's a super focused desire to get moving, not because you're scared, but because you see a critical opportunity you just have to grab. This chart really lays it all out perfectly. Look at the feelings. Complacency, that's driven by satisfaction. False urgency, that's all about fear and anger. But true urgency, that comes from determination. And check out the behavior. Complacency just clings to the old ways. False urgency runs around in circles. But true urgency, it's laser-focused. It's all about acting on what's absolutely critical and just dropping everything else. So the million-dollar question, how do you actually create this state of true urgency? Well, the strategy is, honestly, it's pretty counterintuitive. Kotter's whole argument, really, is that we keep trying to solve these deeply emotional problems, complacency and fear, with totally logical tools. We build these massive PowerPoint decks, these super detailed spreadsheets, and we think that if we just throw enough facts at people, they'll change. But they just don't. He tells this really powerful story about two different managers at a conference. They were both supposed to make the case for a big change. So the first manager, he does everything by the book. Dims the lights, puts up dozens of data-heavy slides, makes a completely flawless, logical argument. Then the second manager gets up. He keeps the lights on, uses hardly any slides, and just tells personal stories. Stories about his father's business failing, about his own pride in their company, about wanting to retire a winner. End result? While the first manager got people to nod their heads and say, yeah, that makes sense, he got intellectual agreement. But the second manager, he created real energy, real commitment. See, he didn't just convince their minds, he actually connected with their hearts. And that's where true commitment comes from. So let's bring this all home. What's the single most important takeaway here? How do we finally beat that 70% failure rate? It all boils down to this. Change is not just an analytical problem to be solved, it's an emotional one. If you want to create true urgency, you've got to move beyond just giving people information. You have to find ways to make them feel the need for change. You need to create experiences that hit them on a gut level, win their hearts with powerful stories and a really clear purpose, and I promise you, their minds and, more importantly, their actions will absolutely follow. So we'll leave you with a question to think about. The next time you're leading a big project, don't just ask yourself, what do I need my team to know? Instead, ask, what do I need my team to feel? That might just be the thing that makes all the difference.